What's good, y'all? This is Let's Get It with Coach Los. I'm your host, Coach Los AC, certified life and relationship coach that helps people fix or find the relationships they want. And this podcast covers the best relationship advice, tools, and action steps to get the results you want in your personal, professional, and of course, love life. So I hope you get a lot of value from the episode. And if you do, as always, remember to like and subscribe so you can be notified when I drop new episodes. Let's get it. Let me talk to you guys that has an avoidant attachment style for a second. I talk a lot about people with the anxious attachment styles and trying to help them, right? Because that's a more common attachment that you see. But I think not often do we speak enough to people with an avoidant attachment nature. Now, before we can talk about that attachment style, I need you to make sure you're aware if you actually are someone that has it, if you're not already. So the simplest way to clarify whether you do have more of an avoidant attachment style or not is asking yourself, what is your nature in tough situations? Because someone that has an anxious attachment, their go-to is to push away, right? It's to turn inward and protect self, right? Because you are your safe zone. You're your own safety net. And this usually happens, we learn this whenever we're young enough and whatever kind of experience we got growing up, typically, right? To where if there wasn't a certain consistency of nurture or love in the equation, to where we kind of were left to figure it out on our own, left to our own devices in some regard, then you quickly learn to be autonomous. You learn that autonomy and independence is my safety zone. That's the thing I feel a sense of certainty in, right? That need for certainty and reassurance. You feel grounded knowing that you got you. And so when things get to be rough and tough, from that kind of muscle you've built to make sure you take care of yourself, what it does is it weakens the other side that makes you build the muscle of sitting in the fire to work through things. And instead you push away from things. And what that does for you, because everything we do, even if it's not a healthy thing, is in an attempt to benefit ourselves, meet our needs. And so when you get to push away from things, it allows you to not have to experience the stress, the anguish, the pain, or the discomfort that comes along with the associated emotions that may come with a scenario that doesn't feel so pleasant for you. But the problem is when you don't build that muscle to actually sit with those emotions and learn to work through them and work with someone in respect to your emotions and how they feel and so forth, you weaken your ability to have empathy and you weaken your ability to know yourself better. And so we all have the primal instinctual wiring of fight, flight, or freeze. And when you have an avoidant attachment style that's developed, you're almost every time going to choose flight. Now, yeah, in your mind, you may think, oh, it's just easier just to cut that person out of my life, push them further away or get rid of the negativity that I feel is associated there or the uncomfortable feelings. And if you don't have the reps in the gym, right, of being used to working through conflict constructively and not just giving up on it, then it becomes the more appropriate thing to feel a sense of comfort by pushing away, right? Because remember, your mind and your body is designed to keep you alive so you can survive, not to help you thrive. So I want you to feel comfortable as often as possible because in a primal wiring, that means you're probably safe if you're comfortable. So when you have an avoidant attachment style, your attachment system wants to push you away when things don't feel so kosher because it's going to make you experience something that you don't have the muscle built to navigate. And then the narrative kicks into your mind that most people with avoidant attachment styles has to where it says, hey, I am losing my independence here. I'm losing kind of control over my situation that makes me feel secure by having to engage in this emotional thing, having to work through this, having to go through the fire. And so you push away to preserve your independence that's kept you safe for so long. But what happens in the process is you wind up cutting off the very people or very circumstances that you actually do value and want to have in your life. And then you start the cycle of running, burning the bridges left and right. You keep run whenever a situation doesn't suit what is comfortable for you. So you don't feel like you're losing your autonomy, your independence, and you don't have to be uncomfortable with those emotions that don't feel so good. So the three things that are going to help you tremendously and not self-sabotaging or being a part of your own destruction of a relationship you truly value to where you wind up pushing away someone or something that you really do want to have in your life just to feel safe and feel that sense of control and independence for yourself. You're going to, one, need to build your muscle for empathy, Build that muscle to sit in the fire and relate and understand and validate someone else's feelings without feeling that it means something negative about you. Second, you have to work more on your emotional availability, right? Which is getting your reps in the gym, practice sitting with your emotions and allowing yourself to feel them without running from them, right? Allow them to live and breathe without feeling you need to escape away from them. And third, you have to build the emotional intelligence around that emotional availability to really be able to process, regulate, and nurture those emotions in a healthy, effective way, and not in a destructive way that causes you to run from things that you would prefer to have in your life. Because here's the thing. Oftentimes, someone's in an avoidant attachment style. They wind up pushing away from uncomfortable things emotionally with people because they can't really give clear enough answers for things that are going on because they haven't figured it out for themselves. It's more confusing because someone that's more avoidant lives in their head more than they do in their heart and their emotions, right? They think their way through things more than they actually feel first. And when they do actually try to sit and feel with some things they haven't done the work to bring clarity to, it gets confusing. And it's easier to build that sense of certainty and reassurance again to just push away from that situation and cut it out altogether. So the biggest piece in that big three that you need to do is first start to build the emotional availability piece, right? Sit with your emotions, let them breathe, and start to learn from them. What is the message in my emotions? What is in there? What is it trying to say to me, right? And then offer what it needs in order to bring it to a healed space or to a space that you can have a control over and work with to where you regulate your emotions, they don't regulate you. You do that, you'll get a lot clearer on what you require to be happy, healthy, and whole, right? What works for you, what doesn't work for you, and why it does not, or why it does. And then it'll make you better at actually evaluating your partner or the people in your life that you're dealing with so that you can actually approach them in more constructive ways. And it also really helps you to see that whenever they have issues with you, that you are not the problem and they're not there to try to disturb your peace. The problem is the problem, and you're equipped now to help them help you solve the problem so you can keep someone that's really valuable to you and not push them away. Because ultimately, anything or anyone that forces you to have to do deeper inner work and look inside on a level that you haven't before and there's no answers there, you'll sooner move away from because they make you face something that's extremely uncomfortable and confusing for you when the biggest piece of your attachment is about feeling secure and independent. And if you can't understand and know things for yourself internally, and you feel like you're kind of spiraling or there's some things that are question marks for yourself, it robs your ability to feel that security and your independence. And so after you start to master yourself some and truly figure yourself out and build the muscle to sit into your emotions without needing to run from them, then it comes to peace to where you actually start to take baby steps towards working through things with a person instead of pushing away from that person. Because it's like all humans, you value connection like anyone else. You just have a different way of making sure you feel safe while you're having that connection, right? So when it feels like there's too much investment on your end, it makes you want to push away because it's too much weight and pressure. So you build your ability to have strength through your emotional awareness and intelligence, right? And availability. And then you go and you take small steps, small conversations, little bit by bit on practicing being empathetic to the other person's emotions and being considerate, right? So you start building that muscle to be able to work with them instead of working against them and ultimately against yourself. If you need help with your avoidant attachment style so that it doesn't continue to self-sabotage the relationships that you want to have in your life, either email or DM me coaching and we will get to work if you're ready to put the work in. Let's get it.